What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be tying two flies for you. One's going to be just a regular San Juan worm, and the second one's going to be this new worm I've been playing with a little bit. It's called Squirmy Wormy, and it's pretty much like a San Juan worm, but it has a little bit more weight, and it has these kind of silicone type rubber material that looks really good when it's going through the water and looks a lot more lifelike. So I'm going to get the hook set up here in the vise and get going with the tutorial. The hook I got in the vise right now is a Daiichi 1120 curved hook. It's like a scud type hook. I use these for my San Juan worms. I tie these from a size 10 all the way down to a 14. And the only material you need for this is some chenille, and this is in the standard size. This is in fluorescent pink. And all I do with my chenille is, it comes on a little cardboard plate here, and all I do to keep them even is I cut one card length of chenille. So I'll just cut it just like this. So I have this little piece right here, and it's a card width in length. So the thread we're going to be using is UTC 70 denier in fluorescent pink. And all I'm going to do is start a thread wrap just about a quarter down the shank of the hook, the bend. And you want to try to put these wraps on top of each other just to make it look a lot more smoother. So now we're just going to take our little piece of chenille and just roughly make it the same off the eye as it is off the end of the hook. So I usually keep it just about there. You're just going to tie this down while keeping the chenille on top of that hook. We're just going to give about 3 or 4 nice wraps in there. And now what we're going to do is take our whip finish and just whip finish on top of this little thread dam we built here. I found this is the cleanest way to make San Juan worms. After you're done whip finishing, you just want to cut that little section out. Just kind of lift that chenille back a bit, and now we're just going to tie in, not right behind the eye, because you don't want to crowd the eye of the hook too much. So I'll just put it about a half eye length behind it. So you want to do the same thing. Just kind of build up a little dam there. If you're using UTC, you can just twist it a bit and it cords it up. He's going to pull that chenille over. Do the same thing. 2 or 3 or 4 nice hard wraps there. And you can see that I still have my hook eye exposed so I can get my thread or my line in there. I'm just going to grab our whip finish, do a 4 or 5 turn. Try to keep that thread on top of each other so it's just a nice little neat head. Now what I do, because if you get a couple fish, this chenille is just going to rip right off. I get Loon Outdoors in UV clear fly finish. This is in a thin, and all I will do is simply just dab a little bit on to the thread wraps there. Then you can get like a needle or a bodkin, just kind of move that around on the thread wraps. Cure that. I find if I don't do this, if I get one fish, then the thread wraps just turn over, and the chenille just comes right off the hook. So same thing, we're just going to dabble a little bit right behind the eye. You don't want to crowd you don't want to get any of this in the eye because it will close it shut. Move that around a bit so it's all over the thread. Hit that for 15-20 seconds. You got a nice strong fly. The last thing we're going to do here is just singe the ends. And all we're going to do is get a lighter. And you're just going to come up, just make that chenille come to a little bit of a point. I'll do the same on the back. Just like that. And there's your standard San Juan worm. Now I'm going to get another hook in the vise, and we're going to do the tutorial for the Squirmy Wormy. So the hook I like to use for my Squirmy Wormies is a caddis curved. This right here is in a size 10. You can tie these on a scud, like 1120 Daiichi, even a nymph hook. I just like this just because it has a little bit bigger of a hook gap. So it's a little bit easier to set the hook on some of these bigger steelhead that I fish for. The thread, the same, UTC 70 denier in fluorescent pink. And all we're going to do is just start our thread right behind the eye here. Come back about 2 eye lengths and cut off that tag. Now the material that I use is Spirit River Squirmy Wormies. This is in a hot pink color. You can get these in all kinds of different colors. You can get them in just regular brown. You can get them in all kinds of different colors, and you can also get ones that glow in the dark, which is pretty cool. I like to stick with the kind of naturals and the pink for steelhead. So comes like a little, I'd say 5 or 6 inch. I'm just going to cut about 3 inches off it, or cut in half. And this stuff's kind of hard to tie in. It's like a silicone type, so it doesn't want to stay on top of the hook. It just wants to roll over, and it is kind of hard to work with. So what I like to do, the easiest way that I found to tie it in is just put it around your thread just like this. So it's like this. Bring it to the top. And all I'm doing is making loose wraps right now, because if you do it too tight, you can actually cut right through the silicone with the thread. Then your fly will be pretty much a one fish fly. So all I'm doing is kind of just taking some nice loose wraps right here. And if it doesn't want to stay right on top while you're tying it in, that's okay. So now I'm going to take the part that's going to be sticking out. And I'm just going to take some nice thread wraps up here. Nothing too tight. Just making sure that it's on top. If any of you guys worked with this type of material, then you know how hard it can get sometimes to work with. So now I'm just going to pull the end piece up, just cut that off. Now I'm going to get my whip finish tool, just do a 5-turn whip finish here. Just make sure that's out of there. Tag end off, and now you have your first piece on. What I like to do is pull on it to see if I've punctured the silicone at all, and this one looks pretty good, so we're good to keep tying. The bead I like to use is a 1/8 hot pink bead, just to match the worm part. With these beads, there's 2 different sides. There's a small hole and a big hole. And it usually tapers. Usually you would put the small hole on the hook first, then it would come around. But in this case, we're actually going to put the big hole on first. just because what it does is it covers up those wrap you just made. So as you can see, it slides on there a lot easier. If it was with the other side, it just wouldn't look as nice. So once that's on, we're just gonna grab our thread again. Just start right behind the eye, or the back of the bead. Now all I'm gonna do is build up a little dam behind this bead, just so it doesn't slide back anywhere. And it's really easy to crowd the eye of this bead. So just a warning when you guys are doing it. So that's not going to go anywhere now. And this pushes up a lot easier, so you can crowd the eye, but it's just in there. It's kind of loose, as you can see. But it's not going to go anywhere because I've made that little thread dam. So we're going to go down the hook a bit. Now we're ready to tie in our other part of the worm. I do the same thing. Just put it around the thread. Pull it up on top of the hook. And just make some nice loose wraps. This stuff's a pain to tie with, but does it ever catch fish? This stuff is just crazy. It looks so good in the water too. So now I'm just gonna pull this a bit, just make some loose wraps down here. Just like so. Bring our thread back up. I usually like to pull a little bit tighter near the end. So we're just gonna lift up this little tag end piece, cut that out, clean this up a bit. Kind of try to twist this up on top of the shank. You can just use your nail and kind of just move the thread wrap just like so. Pull on it, see if you've punctured it. But if you make like loose wraps near the end and a little bit tighter near the top, then you should be good. And the last part is we're going to double a little body here. And all I'm using for this is ice dub in fluorescent hot pink. Just dub a nice little even tapered body here so it looks like a natural earthworm. A lot of my friends who float fish, they've been getting into these just because they're so they just look so nice in the water. If you guys haven't used these, I definitely recommend it. So once you have a nice little body dub there, you're just going to take your whip finish tool, just do a 4 or 5 turn whip finish right behind that bead, right on that same thread dam that you originally made. Cut that out. I can kind of clean up this body and get all these stray fibers out. And as far as the length goes for these for the worm part, I usually keep it about this is on a size 10, so I usually keep it about 1.5 to 2 inches. So I'm just going to cut it right about there, and then same on the back, right around that 2 inch point. And there you have it, a squirmy wormy. Really cool little pattern. Like I said, it catches all kinds of fish from bass to panfish in the smaller sizes, and they're really good for steelhead. So I hope you liked today's video, guys. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions about any of the materials or any of the flies, just drop it down in the comments and I'll answer them. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and I hope everyone has a good day, and we'll see you in the next one.